All right, hey guys, welcome back to Samco Workshop. Today we're going to be talking about, is it better to buy new? Is it better to buy 3 years old or maybe 8 years old? What's the best way to buy a truck? We're going to talk about the same exact vehicle, compare some stuff, dive in, break this down for you, and list it all out so you can see what the best option for you is. That is what is most important, what is best for you. So we take a look here. This is Market Watch. We want to look at what the rates are. Okay, so we come down here based on new car loans versus used car loans here, used, and here is new, and here's your credit score rating. We can see that there's about a 2% difference there, 3% difference there, 5% difference there, okay? It's basically just varies based on this, but, and then we also take into account each state has their own that they're taking into place. So basically, in a nutshell, what we're going to do, we're going to assume a 4% credit difference between a new car and a used car. Figure 4 points difference, and what that's going to do for us is give us a good ballpark. Remember, yeah, you might get a little better deal on a used one. On the same note, you might also get much better deals on a new one, depending on if the manufacturer itself is offering better rates through their financial division, okay? So we're calling it 4%, be equal across the board. So knowing that, we're going to go ahead and start diving into this, all right? We're going to do this as quick as I can. I don't want to waste your time, but I want you to get the info. Also, remember, I post videos every single day. So here it is. So we're going to take a look at a $50,000 loan. So this is a Silverado, an F-150. This is a Gladiator, a pretty decked out Tacoma, whatever the case is, a 4Runner, whatever you want to buy. This is what we're looking at. A low-end Bronco, high-end Explorer. I don't care what it is. 50 grand is what we're looking at. You're going to buy it for 50 grand. You're going to finance it for 60. We are not playing this game of 72 months. We're going to stay at 60-month term here because you can still get 60 on a used one 3 years old also. So we're going to stick with 60 months. 7% rate to go with for the new, again, based on what we're seeing on here and what we're seeing there. We're picking right here at the middle here, 7%. So 7% rate. And then no down payment, no trade-in, no nothing. We're picking a standard 6% sales tax, probably most common. And hopefully you can get it for $1,000 of doc fees and BS stuff and everything like that out the door. We hit add all fees in there. We calculate it. We come out with a payment of $1,069, okay? We got all this info here, but don't worry about it yet. We're going to come dive back into this here in a few minutes for you when we put all this stuff into real-world perspective. Now, there is one factor that has to come into play. That is going to be resale value after you're done with this vehicle, because that is part of the cost here. So if you're going to own this vehicle for 5 years, you're going to buy it and drive it for 5 years. That is what most people are going to do. Pay it off, and then they're going to get rid of it and get something different. We have to take into consideration resale value. This is from IC Cars, best resale value trucks of 2024. You can see that they are going to hover somewhere basically as an average of about 70% for 5 years is what I picked here on these. For these top couple here, here these three here are 70. This one's close to, these are all close to 70 for that. Mid-size is much, or full size is much worse, but HDs are much higher. So we're going to pick an average, and you can see that the small trucks are there. So we're picking an average of 70% to make it simple. And that's what we're going with is for 7% or 70% value after 5 years of this car. Okay, so if we know that, now we'll use that in a minute, but let's look at if we did a 10 grand off. Okay, we paid $40,000 for a 3-year-old version of this. Let's just call it truck a Frontier. Let's call it a decked out Frontier that you paid 50 grand for. That was sticker price, whatever the case is. I know that they're cheaper than that now, but it's just a simple version. So you got this one for 40 grand, 3 years old. It's a great truck. You know the reliability is there. You're going to be comfortable with it. You have no fears of anything happening. So you're buying it for $40,000, 60 months. We added 4% to the 7%, makes it 11% interest rate right here. Everything else is the same, but your doc fees and everything, we drop it down to $300 because it's used. We make sure we include all fees. We hit calculate. We get a payment of $928.40. And then we have this stuff, which I will break down for you again in a minute, okay? So you're saving some money here if you look at the difference here between that $1,069, $940. So we're saving some money here, or $928. So we're doing good. So we also did one for the heck of it if you were to buy it 8 years old. Okay, you were to buy it 8 years old. Based on the value, we'll come back to this, but we got this one here too, which we're going to dive into in a minute. But before we do, well, let's focus on these numbers. So let's pull this up and take a fast look at this little chart that I put together kind of explains it. So here we go. So if you, I got to lean over here for a second. So this is new, and you owned it for 5 years. Okay, this is so you bought it brand new. You owned it for 5 years. At the end of yours, it is a 5-year-old vehicle, and it was $50,000. So your total interest paid on this is going to be $10,155. Your payment is going to be the $1069. Your total out-of-pocket spent over the whole deal is a $64,155. How did we come up with that? It's all listed right here for us. Okay, all those numbers are right here for us. We just cut and paste and copy them over. It's very simple. They give you all the info right there. So we have these numbers. So and then if we take that total out-of-pocket that it cost you over 5 years, which is a $64,000 here, we minus the 70% of value left in your vehicle that you could sell it for, which is worth $35,000. Remember, $50,000 minus 70% is $35,000. We end up with a cost. So if we were to buy it, drive it for 5 years, pay it off, and then sell it for $35,000, this is your number that it cost you right here. Okay, this $29,000 is what it cost you, not counting gas and all that, but that's what the vehicle cost you for the 5 years that you had it. Okay, there it is. Now, when we do the same thing for the used one here, that's 3 years old and used, owned it for 5 years. So now the vehicle is 8 years old when you're done with it. We changed it to 50% value because it is now 8 years old at the time you're done with it, not 5 years old. But we got $40,000 for the total amount that you paid for it. Interest because of that loan. Remember, the kicker here is the 11% we got here versus the 7% we got here. That's the smack in the face right there. So interest-wise, you paid more in interest. You're at $13,000 in interest, which is actually $3,000 almost more in interest. But your payment is only $928 that you see right here versus $1069 or $1070 right here. So you're saving $141 a month. That's a big factor to a lot of people. They live month to month today. So that monthly $140 is a huge thing. And that might be a very big deciding factor for a lot of people. You have to take that into consideration. You're saving $150 a month by buying this. How's the rest of it stack out though? So your total out of cost is $55,700. Okay, your total out of cost here is $64,100. So it ends up being a difference of, this one ends up costing you actually $8,451 less to pay for it, but we lose money because now we only have 50% of resale value, $25,000, because it's 8 years old, versus the 5 years here where it's 70% because it's only 5 years old at $35,000. So when we look at the cost difference here the total cost is when you sell it. So you're going to buy it, drive it for 5 years, turn around and sell it. You're going to get, on your new one, you're going to get $35,000. On your 3-year-old one, it's now 8 years old when you sell it, you're getting $25,000. When you do that math on here, you're at $29,155 was your cost on that vehicle. Here it goes up. It's actually $30,700. It's a difference of $1,549 that this vehicle costs you. Okay, the used one actually costs you $1,550 more than buying the brand new one. But it does cost you $140 less per month. But it's still going to cost you $1,550 more at the end of it. Now, what is some of the things that we got going on here too? Well, if it's brand new and it's got a warranty. Your tires are new, your brakes are new, your belts are new, your fluids are new. It's not been abused. It's never been sunk in the water. It's never been beat up off-road. It's never been rode hard. It's never been raced. It's never been any of that kind of stuff. Okay, it hasn't been abused. No bad service history, mainly oil changes. This has had a track record of people not doing maintenance correctly, and there's really no stress or no worry. It's a new truck. Okay, it's much easier. With this one, you do have some factors you got to be considerate of. Yes, you saved $141 a month. You did spend $1,550 more. You are also out of warranty, and only, most likely, okay? If you're at 36,000 miles in 3 years, you're out of warranty and you cannot buy a factory warranty. So the only warranty you can get now is like a car shield or some aftermarket warranty, and they suck. They're not good, and they're ridiculously expensive. So the warranty issue might be something that would sway you towards a new one. It's something to consider. Also, keep in mind, if it's used with 36,000 or 40,000 miles on it, it's most likely going to be real close to, it's going to need tires, probably going to need brakes, and it's probably going to need some other stuff. Call it about $2,500. And again, you know, you can vary this a little bit. Don't get mad at me. It could be a little less, but point being, let's just round it, call it $2,500. You also don't know what kind of condition this vehicle's been, what's been done to it, or how it is. You may, if it is a dealer trade-in and intervals have been there, know them, but you may not. It depends on if they do their own or what, but you may not know the history of maintenance on that engine and how things have been handled, what oil was used. You may not know this stuff, and it may not be quite up to spec. It's something you got to consider. So there, in here, you never know. There's not that no stress and no worry that we have here. Here you just kind of never know, but that's okay for a lot of people because you do save $150 a month. 141 bucks a month is a lot of money. Okay, but when we add that $1,549 that you lost here over buying it new because of the interest rates, you kick in this other stuff, you're actually about $4,049 here of loss. So $4,050 more it cost you to buy this 3-year-old truck. More than it did if you bought it new. It's interesting, okay? Again, the payment might be the side that's going to make that easier for you to swallow, but overall, you're paying $4,000 more for a 3-year-old used one because of rates and interest stuff and the BS than you are for a brand new one. Now, what about this other one here? So what we did here, so if we figured, let's look at value. So here at 70%, which that chart told us after 5 years, we're at $35,000. We dropped it to 50% for it being a total of 8 years old at $25,000. And then here it's going to be used, and if you're going to buy it at 8 years old, it's at $25,000. So we put it here, right? $25,000 is the cost because you are buying this vehicle. 8 years old, you're buying this one for $25,000. With that said, it's going to lose 75% of its original $50,000. So it's going to value when you're done with it after 3 years. Now, we can only do 3 years here because that's all they're going to give you on this kind of an 8-year-old vehicle. So you get a 3-year loan, and your value at the end of that 3 years, this thing's only worth $12,500. So you got to understand how we came up with that calculation. Now, if we look at it on here, same thing, $25,000 is what we bought it for because it is 8 years old. We did a 36-month loan on it. Again, we got 11%. Everything else the same. $300 fee from the dealer. We were paying $877.40. Okay, and here's our numbers. We're going to crunch and fill in. All this stuff is what we're going to fill in here in a minute. So let's do that. If we go over here, we look at this. So you bought it for $25,000. Your interest is $5,000, $47.85. It's $8,000 less in interest that you're actually paying over the 3-year-old one. $8,000. That's a big difference. Okay, your payment drops 51 bucks. Okay, so now you're only at $877 versus 140 or versus you're $51 cheaper than the 3-year-old one. Okay, so that's a big difference here. So you're $200 cheaper a month than this one than buying it brand new. Your out-of-pocket cost comes down. Your total out-of-pocket cost drops. I didn't even do for the new, but from this one here, you drop $24,000 of out-of-pocket money that you're not spending. But then you also have to remember, you're only getting $12,500 when it's back. So really, after 3 years, so it's only 3 years, your total cost is $19,086 after 3 years of ownership versus your $30,000 here after 5 years of ownership. You got to remember, 3 to 5. We can't compare apples to apples here. That's why I didn't get too crazy on it. But notice that your payment is less. It's also paid off 2 years faster and free for the next 2 years if you owned it for 5. So that's a huge factor. But this will also go down if you've owned it for 5, and there's going to be some changes, but it's pretty good. You also have to remember there's a risk of repairs today, and the repairs are not cheap. They're most expensive they've ever been. And at this stage, buying an 8-year-old vehicle and keeping it for 3 or 5, on this loan we did 3 years, if you're going to keep it for 3 years, you're talking about a 12-year-old car or a 11-year-old car. So it's pretty serious here. Risk of repairs, and those repairs could be significant. You have to take that into consideration. It's definitely going to need the same needs probably as what this one here has, most likely. You don't know if it's been abused. You don't know you don't know any of this stuff. Everything here basically applies and carries right over to here. But it is paid off in 3 years. So things to think about, food for thought. There is no right or wrong way to this for anybody. For me, I go straight to the new because of all the things that we see right here matter the most to me, and I am saving this $4,000 right here. So for me, this is where I dive into, and I don't even keep them for 5 years. I have my own little system of doing stuff that usually means I don't spend a penny for a car. I don't get any for free. I don't have any, I don't get like A plan. I don't get any of that employee employee pricing. I don't get any of that, and yet I still drive my trucks basically for free. But if if you're buying them, this is going to put it into perspective for you if you're planning on keeping one for 5 years. Now, if I kept it for 5 years, it's not going to be free for me. My system works for what I do. But if somebody planning on keeping a vehicle for 5 years, these are 3 great examples that's going to kind of put it into perspective for you and hopefully help you make the best decision for what you want to do. I want to hear what you prefer. Put it down in the comments. Would you rather buy new because of the stress-freeness? Would you rather buy a 3-year-old and save the $150 a month? Or would you rather buy the 8-year-old and save $200 a month and get it paid off in 3 years? Where do you fit? Is a risk of that 8-year-old one worth it to you? What do you think and how do you feel? Let me know down below in the comments. I appreciate you watching. Thanks.